make sure that, I'm, in football shape, that, I'm still coming off the ball quickly, that, I'm the same player and, same player in the areas they wanted me to be and better in other areas. And hopefully, better all around is what I think I am. I think I'm a much better player than the last time these guys saw me, and I really try to show that today. And I think I'm in a lot better shape. I feel like I know the game a lot better than I ever have, and I'm more prepared than I've ever been to get back into it, start playing again, and get to the NFL and start playing against some really good competition.
You had a pretty good season, obviously, 2018, and that's what scouts will go back and look. So when you watch the film of yourself from that season, what do you think, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird watching, film from so far back, because you're watching games from 2 years back and you're like, oh man, yeah, and kind of replaying those games from a while back. But I've definitely saw areas of improvement, and I've worked on those things. Just trying to be better with the hands, be quicker with my feet. Staying with good leverage, and just try to nitpick every single game that I played in that year. And that one game in 2019. That's what I've been working on over the past months and years, to get better at and prepare myself for this next step.
Last thing, do you think you're a, hidden gem of sorts, I guess, because you've kind of been off the radar the last 2 years, for some of these,
I guess
you're not teams, but
because of the circumstances. But again, like I've said earlier, I think I'm the best tackle in this draft, and I think I can help any team take that next step to be a championship team and help protect the passer and open holes in the run game. So and media and whoever else is going to call me whatever they want, but for me, I just see myself as the best tackle. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next question is from Adam Mack. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Walker, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Adam. How are you?
Good. Adam Mack from All About the Birds. Have you been in contact with the Eagles, and what would it mean to have the opportunity to, kind of learn the game under veterans like Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson?
Yeah, so I talked to an Eagle scout very early on. I haven't had any contacts with the Eagles later on, and to answer the second part, being able to learn from veteran guys like Lane Johnson, like Jason Kelsey, and that offensive line has been really good for a really long time. So having an opportunity to learn from some of the great players of the game right now, it's just kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, and an opportunity that I wouldn't take for granted, and something that I know would allow me to become a better player, allow me to take even another step forward to being ultimately the best player I can be.
All right, next question is from Shrey. Go ahead, Shrey.
Hi, Walker. This is Shrey from Back Sports page. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get a little insight on what you believe NFL coaches will see out of you on a day-to-day basis as a player and a person.
Yeah. I think they're going to see someone who's an extremely hard worker, an accountable person who's going to, show up on time, be the first one in, last one out, be a student of the game, and as a person, someone who's there, accountable for their teammates, someone who can be a great leader in the locker room, and be a great player for many years, and help the organization ultimately, win championships.
Thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of the draft process.
Thank you, Shrey.
Okay, we'll have two more questions. The next question will be from Mateus. Go ahead, Mateus.
Walker, Mateus again. One last question. You talk about the conversations that you have with the Eagles, and we talk about don't have so much tape on the past 2 years. How is important be talking with these teams and talk with a lot of guys on the NFL, and if you can talk which teams you have more contact and maybe look more interesting in picking you in the draft?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, which team is more interested or not at this point. I've had conversations with many teams, both through Zoom calls and phone calls, so it's hard to really, put a leader in terms of interest. But a lot of those conversations, really help show, smarts of the game, knowledge of the game, ability to kind of pick up their system and explain what we did here at Stanford. And that was a huge reason why I came to Stanford, was to be able to learn from pro style offense, and have an opportunity to make this transition easier. And that's really something that I'm able to show in the meetings, which is a huge benefit to me.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, last question is from Jacob Infante. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Walker, just a quick follow-up. I wanted to ask, obviously, playing in the Pac-12, you've had a chance to go up against a lot of talented players. If one player comes to mind, who would you say is the toughest defender you've had to block at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I mean, we've had to go against a lot of good guys, both in the Pac-12 and some of our out-of-conference games. The one that comes to mind was my sophomore year was Bradley and Utah defensive end. He was a really good player, and that's the first guy that comes to my mind right now.
Awesome. And just one quick follow-up out of curiosity. The Bears are among teams who are looking for offensive linemen, and you being one of the top offensive tackles in the class, I'm just wondering if you've had any opportunity to get in contact with them.
I haven't yet, but I am talking to them on Saturday. So that's my first call with them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Walker, I think that's it. So thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it. And we will have David Shaw on next.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for y'all's time.
Recording stopped.
Hi, Coach. How are you? Yeah, unmute the computer.
I'm great.
All right, great. Let me hit record.
Recording in progress.
So we're just going to go straight to questions for Coach. The first question is from Mateus Ornelas. Go ahead, Mateus.
Coach David, Mateus from Brazil. It's a great honor to talk to you. In 2020, because of the COVID, we hear a lot about the players, the scouts, about all the struggles that you have. And how was for Stanford, like work with all that problems, and now we have the pro day and make the players back for show one last time what they can do? How was for the coaching staff, like dealing with all these problems?
Well, like everybody around the world, things have been difficult. For us, we were probably in the most restrictive county in America, and our guys understood it. So we followed the guidelines as best we could. So got a chance for those guys to take classes and play football. And now things have gotten better in Northern California, which is awesome. The county restrictions are a little bit less, and we're able to have the pro day today. But I couldn't be more proud of our student athletes because they took advantage of every opportunity that was presented to them. Played hard when it was season. Time to play in the season, and today they showed how hard they've been working. I mean, multiple guys running the 4.4s, Simi Fujoko running the 4.3s, and Paulson Adebo running that low 4.4, high 4.3. So these guys have been working really hard, and they took advantage of this opportunity to come for this chance to be in the NFL. And the scouts were impressed, the coaches were impressed, and it was a really good day on campus.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, next question is from Pranav. Pranav, can you go ahead?
Coach, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to piggyback off of what you just said. Do you think each of the players showcased their full potential today?
Yeah, and so I was in the NFL for 9 years and did this a lot. And what pro days are about is that last piece, right? These scouts and coaches have watched every game. They've watched every play. Many of them go back and watch your last 2 years of playing. So this is that last piece of, okay, how fast exactly is this guy? How does he look? How is he built? How's he going to jump? How's he going to go through these drills? So you take into account this is that last 10% of the information these guys are getting. Our guys did really well. It showed how much speed we had out there on our team. You see the size of Walker Little. You see the size of Foster Sorrell. You see big guys, fast guys. Quarterback had a heck of a day. in the rain, throwing balls that cut through the wind and rain. And so I think it was a great showcase for the abilities of these guys today. And I know it'll bear itself out on draft weekend.
All right, next question is from Edward Crotch. Go ahead, Edward.
Hey, David. Yeah, I cover the Philadelphia Eagles for SI.com. And I just want to ask you first, I guess, about Davis Mills and KJ Costello. You had both of those quarterbacks, very intriguing prospects in the draft. Can you just talk through their strengths as, quarterbacks and even as men off the field?
Absolutely. Both guys are brilliant on and off the football field, high character guys, both leaders, both have been team captains for us. Couldn't be more proud of either one of those guys than I am right now. Both come from great families. They have great backing at home. KJ Costello, of course, started for us a couple of years ago before he grad transferred to Mississippi State. Threw for 3,500 yards, 29 touchdowns. Strong arm, accurate, as I said, great leader. And once again, had a great year for us before he transferred out. I think he's got the chance to make an NFL team, and I think he's got the ability to be a starter. Davis Mills, our starter the last year and a half, really athletic, a better athlete than most people gave him credit for. I think today they saw it running in the 4.5s, running 40 in the 4.5s, making those throws on the move, going to his left, throwing the ball 45 yards down the field on a rope. So you saw his arm strength and athleticism, and also got a chance for guys to be around him and see his leadership. He's not the loudest guy, but at the same time, he carries himself very confidently and inspires confidence in others like you always want your leaders to be. So I'm really proud of both of these guys, and I think both of them have a chance to make some waves in the NFL.
All right, next question is from Jacob Rayburn. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Coach. This is our first chance, obviously, to talk to you since there was some changes with your staff. Wanted to take this opportunity to give you a chance to share any thoughts you have about what Coach Carberry accomplished at Stanford.
Yeah, I think, Kevin Carberry kind of walked into a bit of a hornet's nest in our room. We had some injuries the first year. The guys battling through. Nate Herbig was once again an outstanding football player that we all know, but he was battling injuries through that his last year here, his first year with Coach Carberry. The next year, then we really had injuries. We thought one year was a lot of injuries, and the next year was even more injuries. We're starting 3 freshmen on the field at a time and trying to get everything organized. And then this past year, even with Walker opting out for the year, missing a potential superstar left tackle, we came back and played our best football in the offensive line in multiple years. So I thought he did an outstanding job of organizing that group, getting that group ready to play, taking those guys from freshmen to sophomores, getting the most out of them. And then really excited about Terry Heffernan coming in from the Buffalo Bills, bringing some new stuff to us, which I think is really good, some things that worked in Buffalo. Still believes in a lot of things that we believe in, the running game that we have in, and he's going to bring in a couple new things to us also. We see eye to eye on protections, and really fired up about him as a technique teacher as well. As I talked about those guys, most of those guys are going great from freshman to sophomore. Now some of those juniors becoming seniors, and our young guys coming in. I think he's going to be a great teacher for those guys, and really go back to what we've been in years past of being one of the best lines in college football. We believe that's our future here.
One quick follow-up on Coach Heffernan. You've talked about in the past how important, the context you have and the people who you really trust to develop offensive line coaches. Was any of that different for you during a job applicant search that occurred during COVID?
No, it's hard not to meet people face to face. But as you know, I have a lot of people that I know in the NFL, and Terry came highly recommended from the people that he's worked with, and even people that just knew him and being around him. We have 2 former players on the Buffalo Bills, and both those guys intimated to us that he's a perfect fit for our team. And Trent Murphy doesn't approve of everybody, and Trent was very high on Terry. And if you can pass Trent's bar, that means you're pretty special. And the last couple of weeks meeting with him, with the staff, has been a lot of fun, and I think he's going to help us a ton.
Thanks so much, Coach.
All right, next question is from Xenophon Abraham. Go ahead.
Coach, how you doing? Great to see you. Got to ask you, Mr. Mills, what did you feed him? His improvement has been incredible, but what aspect of his game, in your opinion, has improved the most? I'm impressed with his mobility.
Yeah, and you can say that's one area that's improved the most, is mobility, but really only say that because he had an injury, kind of re-injured it again his second year here. But you go back before he was injured, it's part of what we liked about him. His athleticism is impressive. This guy can run, he can move. And this year, he was completely healthy. There were about four, actually starting at the end of last year. He made a play against Notre Dame. I mean, cover zero blitz, two guys hit him in the backfield, and he spun out and scrambled for positive yards. This year, multiple times in the pocket, getting out of the way, sliding and making big time throws. And that's what the NFL is. And so many people misconstrue some of these different offenses where you throw a bubble screen and it goes for 75 yards and the quarterback gets credit for that. The NFL is not that. The NFL is being able to sit in the pocket with guys in your face and slide and find open windows and get the ball out of your hands. And that really showed of Davis today, in the wind, in the rain, moving around and throwing, 45, 50, 55-yard balls that cut through the rain was really, really impressive.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
All right, next question is from Cam Inman. Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, David, that's what I was kind of going to ask you about. So let me pivot to that and just say, going back to Davis's injuries, how did he handle this? I mean, you see the adversity and what the character is of guys when they deal with injuries. What was that like for him, and how did he just battle through it?
So I'll give you some context. So Davis Mills was the number one quarterback in America.
Right.
He was the best quarterback that we saw. We wanted to come to Stanford. I was at his state championship game where he initially got hurt. And, we didn't expect him to come and start as a freshman. As devastating as it was, we knew, okay, we didn't plan on him playing him, so he's going to redshirt, he's going to rehab, he's going to get great. We know he's going to be great. And then the second injury was the one that was really hard. And I remember going up to Davis and saying, man, I feel so bad for you. I know you just worked really hard to get back healthy. And now you're going to be, surgery and rehab again. And he said, Coach, I already been through it once. I'll go through it again. Just that calm, that comfort, that confidence, like, it's okay. This is just another hurdle. I'll be fine. And he was. And he came back full speed, back to being able to run and jump and cut and do all those things that impressed us initially. The injuries were difficult, but really showed who he was and the kind of resilience and confidence that he has.
Okay. All right, next question is from Kaylon Jones. Go ahead, Kaylon.
Hey, Coach, appreciate you. Earlier, you mentioned how pro days are that last piece in terms of the puzzle for these prospects. But in an abnormal year, how were your interactions with NFL scouts and personnel? How did that differ from typical years for you?
The biggest difference was we have a complete open door for the NFL scouts. So they can come by anytime. And that's where it was really different, because the scouts really love to come and watch the guys practice. You get to see work ethic. You get to see get coached, get corrected as you put the game plan in. And that was hard for those guys. So this pro day was the first time many of these guys have seen our players in 2 years. So for them to come and see how big and physical Walker is and how trim he was, to see Simi Fehoko, and they haven't seen him in 2 years. They go, oh, wow, like this guy can really run and jump and explode, and Paulson Depot, et cetera. So that's been the biggest difference, is guys don't have that. They usually come, they watch 2 practices, or watch some come early in training camp and some come at the end of the year. So missing those evaluation opportunities was difficult for them and for us.
All right, next question is from Alexis Mansanarez. Go ahead, Alexis.
Hi, Coach. Thank you for taking the time today. I also have a couple of questions about that missing piece aspect that you mentioned. For Paulson particularly, what do you think he needed to show today, and did he show that? And I guess part 2 of that is, what questions have you fielded about him, and how do you think his skill will translate to the next level?
I'll start with the last question. I think he'll have direct transition, to the next level. A really easy transition. He's a long, fast corner. And people forget, he had a couple of rough games his last year, but he still led the conference in pass breakups. The year before, he led the nation in pass breakups. He's over 6 foot. He's right around 200 pounds. He ran a low 4.4, high 4.3. And I think that's what a lot of people wanted to see, like, how fast is this guy? But then you also see him put together. He's big, he's strong, he is physical, he's a great tackler. So now you put together a guy who's probably the most productive corner in the last 2 years, not including this year. He didn't play this year, but over that time period, the most productive corner in America. And then you see he runs a low 4.4, high 4.3. Then you see him broad jump over 10 feet. Now you're looking at a long, fast, explosive guy. And that last piece of today's puzzle was the ball skills. Not only can he get past deflections, he made some unbelievable catches. He's got the hands of a receiver. So I think a lot of people walked away checking a lot of boxes. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He didn't play this year, so a lot of people kind of got him out of that mix. But they still think he's one of the top corners in America, one of the top corners in this draft. And I think today really showed that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next question is Adam Mack. Adam, did you have a question? Okay, I guess not. Next question is from Troy Clarity. Go ahead, Troy.
Coach, good to see you as always. Pro Day, obviously, a lot of it revolves around the tangibles: height, speed, weight, all those sorts of things. Quarterback completes 50 of 54 during his throwing session. What about the intangibles? Are there ways that this day can also be about the intangibles, and how can the coaching staff kind of maybe play up some of those intangibles when they're trying to showcase the student athletes out there?
Yeah, when NFL coaches and scouts come to pro days, yes, they're getting all the numbers to put in the book, but they all have a space on those sheets for notes. And you want to see how, just sometimes split second, how a guy handles a bad throw, or a drop, or a slip on a 3-cone. What's his personality like? How he interacts with his teammates, how he interacts with the coaches. So they're always looking at all those things. So I think there is a spot for you to get a feeling for, right? It's not 100%. It's just one day. It's just a few hours with them. But you get a chance sometimes to sense a guy's personality. So those are the things that they try to walk away from, having a sense of who they are on top of all those numbers.
All right. Next question is from Alex Fleming. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, sir. Alex Fleming, Florida Sun. Coach Shaw, do you believe that there is a West Coast bias, and that's why some of the players in the Pac-12 don't get the notoriety that they deserve? And 2, do you feel that COVID has not only hurt recruiting, but somehow hurt some of the draft stock of some of your players?
Whew, those are 2 big questions. I'll take the second one first. I think, and I wouldn't say hurt our players, but I think it was difficult once we got rolling that we couldn't play an entire season. And everybody understands why. We had a lot of concerns in our county. Our county numbers were really, really bad at the end of the summer. So we couldn't get started like a lot of other places were able to get started. But I do think if we had 6 more games, I do think if the circumstances were different and Paulson Adebo, in particular, Paulson Adebo and Walker Little were able to play this full year, I think they'd be first-round draft picks. I think Simi Fehoko was able to have 6 more games. I think he would be higher on a lot of draft boards. I think that 4.37 today really kind of popped some people's eyes open. So in that realm, not having the number of games, but you would say that about everybody in our conference, that the really good players, 6 more games would have just helped them. As far as there being a bias, the difficult part about that is there's nobody to really blame, right? So it's hard for me to say a bias. A bias would mean there'd be somebody to blame. Our TV contracts are what they are. So if you're on the East Coast and let's say you're voting for the Heisman or you're voting for these different things and you have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the end of some of our games, that's difficult. So I talk about exposures. So, let's imagine that there's a running back at Alabama and imagine there's a running back at Stanford. Just a pure, throwing those 2 things out there. And one guy plays at noon East Coast time much every week. So you get to see his game. And at the halftime of every game after that, you get to see his highlights and he gets talked about. And then the other guy plays at 7:30 at night most weeks. So if you're on the East Coast, you really watch the first half, and the second half you're going to bed. So one guy gets 4 or 5 exposures during the day, and the other guy gets half a game exposure. So yes, I think that is a difficult thing to battle until we get to the point where we can play more games or the majority of our games during the course of the day, so people on the East Coast can see us play. Then they'll really know how that unnamed running back, how good he really is. So yeah, I think that it's a difficult thing. I think we've been talking about it as a conference for a while, and hopefully in our next TV contract, we can try to make sure that we have more games earlier and have fewer games late at night. Although some of those late night games are great, we just don't want to have a whole bunch of those late night games because we deserve to be seen throughout the day and be a more major part of college football.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, next question is from Mateus. Go ahead, Mateus.
Coach, just to follow up, Mateus from Brazil again. You talk about the players and they talk about the program with such like a good heart, and this is, you think this is a kind of an aspect that make the family word like be a strong word for Stanford and help on when you have to recruit new guys. You know, we have like Simi talking really good about the program. We have Walker talking about he wants to go for a college when he could be a pro player like in the first year in the NFL. I think this kind of statements help a lot on the recruitment.
Yes, 100%. And not to talk bad about any other program, but I think when you come to Stanford, you don't have a question whether or not you are getting the most out of a place, right? Where you don't have to worry about, are you getting an education or not? Like, we don't have any Mickey Mouse degrees here. Like, you're going to be a real student. You're going to get something out of this place. You're going to meet unbelievable people. And we're going to care more about just how many yards you get on game day or how many tackles you get on game day. We're going to set you up for life. We're going to prepare you for life. These last 3 weeks, we've had great, we are doing this thing, Card for Life, once a week, where we're getting people come from private equity to talk to our guys. We're talking about financial literacy as far as managing your money. We're talking about real estate. Like, we're getting our guys ready for life. And I think they feel that while they're here, we're not just using them for football. We're giving them a great education. We're giving them a leg up on life. You know, people don't use that phrase very much anymore, but we're really giving them a big boost when they leave this place. I think they really appreciate it because it's not just football. It's those other things and football at a high level, which is why you hear those guys talk so fondly about Stanford University.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, Edward, you have another question? Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
All right. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Yes. Thanks for giving me the time. I really do appreciate it. Great stuff, David. I just want to ask you, I mentioned I cover the Philadelphia Eagles, and it seems like the Eagles have developed a fondness for your program. You know, they've gotten, Nate Herbig, you mentioned, Casey Toohill, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Can you speak about that relationship that you might have with the Eagles? And have you seen Herbig and JJ? Have you followed their careers? I know Herbig hasn't been in as long in the NFL, but have you followed them since they left campus?
Absolutely. I have, most college coaches have some access to NFL film, so I always go back and try to watch the guys, especially when they make their first starts or they have their first big game. I go back and watch those. I have a subscription, to the NFL stuff, so I can go back and watch the coaches' film and do stuff like that. So that's really special. Jeffrey Lurie, love him or hate him, and I know how Philly is, right? Sometimes you love him, sometimes you hate him. Jeffrey has a lot of principles that he believes in, right? I coached for the Eagles in 1997, and a lot of those principles are aligned with our players. Our guys are leaders. Our guys are tough, and you know how Philly is. If you got to have a tough guy. You have tough guys when you go to Philly. Our guys are tough. They're tough and they're smart and they're leaders. And Howie Roseman is a friend of mine. Also, he understands what this place is about. So see them look for guys that have those type of traits, because the NFL, my dad used to say this all the time, the NFL, everybody's 8-8, right? If you lose 2 games, you're now 6-10. You win 2 games, now you're 10-6. And the difference between winning and losing sometimes is having guys that are tough and guys that don't make mistakes. So that's who our guys are. When they leave this place, they're going to be great teammates. They're going to be great players. They're going to help you win a couple of games more, hopefully, than you lose. And I think you've seen that throughout the league. There's certain teams, usually if they have one Stanford guy, they end up having 3. I think that says a lot about, not about me per se, but about the young people that we have coming out of this place, that they're people that you want to be around these guys and you want to keep them on your team.
Thank you so much.
All right, and it looks like we have one more question. This is from John Shearer. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Mr. Shaw, how are you doing today?
Great, doing great.
I wanted to know, have you considered going back to the NFL, and has anybody reached out to you recently about potentially returning to the NFL? Thank you.
I'm going back to the NFL Network for the draft, which is great. I'm excited about that, going to Cleveland. I put it this way, I have not talked to an NFL owner or GM about a job since I took this job, going on 10 years. Over the years, people have reached out and talked to my agent. I'm very comfortable here, more than comfortable. I'm excited about what we're doing and who we're doing it with. I still never say never. You never know down the road, but I'm excited about where we are right now and coming off the pandemic, and even all these great guys, and we could have 7 of these guys or more drafted, which would be huge draft weekend for us. I still look back at our team, and I think our team has a chance to be one of the best teams in our conference and battle for a Pac-12 championship, and then who knows what after that. So I like it here. My wife likes it here. I think we're doing extremely well here. So I'm not in a hurry to leave.
All right, David, thanks so much for joining us, and that will be the end of today's press conference. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Coach. Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Recording stopped.
Well, folks, that was the Stanford Pro Day. I also have to admit, my schedule got flipped upside down for some personal reasons. So I missed the players. I got Walter, but we heard from Coach Shaw. And we have Cal in 30 minutes. You Golden Bears. So I'm going to come back at 7 o'clock on Zenny 62 on YouTube, and we'll start the Cal Pro Day press conference. Thank you for joining the Zenny 62 Media Network. That ends this broadcast.